Welcome, everyone, to the new episode of Momies Tea Talk. My name is Nermeen, and I'm here with my friends Soha and Raham.
Hey!
Welcome, guys.
How are you?
Thank you for having us.
Thank you for being here with me. I'm really excited to talk about this subject. Today, we're going to discuss the love languages. Do you guys know, have you heard of what a love language is?
I am familiar with a love language, yes.
All right, do you want to tell us a little
Do we
bit
use
about
it though?
I think we do. I think a love language is basically how a person can give and receive love.
Express their love.
Right, the ways that makes you loved the most when you receive it, and then the way that you kind of like by default find yourself expressing love, showing love to anyone else, like, you know, their family, kids, husband, whatever.
Yeah.
So we tend to express our love language in the way that we want to receive it, but everyone has a different love language.
Right.
And so the importance is to find out what your own children's love language is. Do you guys know your own children's love language?
So for me, it was a little bit hard because, and it's funny, I think it's common between all of us. You have kids, but each one has a personality. Each one has their own, you know, things that they like, they enjoy. So, you know, yes, at the beginning, I kind of knew what their love language, but in the middle of their growing up, I figured that I was not connecting as much. So I did reach out to some resources to see what I can do to find what their love language is. And I think there's a really good website for that quiz, which I did take to help me kind of guide me what my kids like.
So did you read, or do you have reference to the 5 love languages?
I've heard of it. Did you read it?
This is a great book.
I didn't read it.
It's
I
written
didn't
by...
read the one for children, but I'm familiar with the one for adults.
Right, so there's an adult one, which is great for relationships. And then the author, Gary Chapman and Ross Campbell, wrote another one after that specific to children. And this is kind of the one that is our resource for today's topic. So he mentions 5 different love languages in his book. Do you guys know what they are?
I know some of them.
Yes,
physical
touch,
affirmation,
words of affirmation.
Words of affirmation, and then there's service, acts of service.
Acts of service.
Gifts.
Receiving,
the big thing.
Receiving gifts.
Receiving gifts.
Quality time.
And quality time. Those are the 5 love languages. And so it's important to know your own love language. And a lot of times they say, you know, if you have little kids, you can just observe them and see when they're playing with their friends or coming up to you, what are they doing? Are they saying, you know, are they snuggling up to you, or are they giving you gifts, making you a card, coming in for a card? That will help you identify what your kid's love language is. And then if you have older children, up to teens, and then even adults, there's actually quizzes that you can take online. So this book actually also has a website, and you can actually take the quiz for yourself as well as for your children. And there's different quizzes depending on if you're an adult or an age, and then even within the age category, depending on the age of the child, there's different quizzes. So
do you think, Nermeen, that a love language can change for one particular person as they develop, grow, and they go from one stage to another?
Yes, and I think that's what Soha was alluding to. And I know myself personally, my love language changed. I know like 10, 15 years ago, I had a different love language. So normally they rank it. So they rank it all 5. You have like your top, and then
because we all have 5.
Because we need
all
of
them.
You can't just have one.
But
so you need all, but there's usually one or two that are like your top favorite. Right. And then it does change over time, and it changes based on the relationship too, I think sometimes. Because sometimes, you know, your daughter is going off to college now and you miss her more than, you know, the little one that's always clung to you. So that can also, I think, have an effect on the particular love language with that particular person. But in general, you have a particular love language that tells you that this person loves you or cares about you. And so we need to use our children's love language when we convey and express our love to them. We can't use our own because they might not get it. When you're trying to show them love, they are not always receiving it in the way that we want them to.
And we have to respect it too. So, for example, there are some children just are not into the physical touch.
Right.
So a lot of moms take it into hurt, and they take it offensively that it's something wrong with them or something wrong with their relationship, and it's not. It just this, child or teenager, this is not their way of expressing love language, and we have to respect it and we have to accept it. So we have to find out what does work with them. And I like what you said also, because they do show us with unspoken words.
Yes.
Like sometimes they don't tell you, Mom, I want to be hugged.
Right. They're never going to tell you.
But they'll come every single time
And
that
just
you
come
come across
snuggle.
them, and they're like just giving you a hug, and you're like, oh my gosh. So this is how they express it, right? Or some just, you were like, I have two teenagers, so one of them can just talk forever. That's how they just want to sit down and vent.
The quality time.
Yes, so this
want
is
that
it.
quality
And they don't want you to interrupt. They don't want you to change anything. That's
You
their
just wanna
way.
talk,
They
yeah.
just want to talk.
I have two middle schoolers, both girls, a year and a half apart. And one, every Christmas, the middle one, the younger one, she does a whole PowerPoint presentation on all of the different lists of items that she wants for Christmas. So
yeah.
clearly receiving gifts
Uh-huh.
is her love language. But then the older one, her birthday and Christmas are 6 days apart, and I'm like fighting tears trying to figure out what to get her, because she just doesn't speak her love
Yeah,
language. Like
that's not-
she doesn't
that's the
she
thing.
doesn't need
Yeah.
gifts. She doesn't need that. But for her, it's probably acts of service, because she's always, helping whenever there's like a big project around the house. She's the first to roll up her sleeves and help and stuff like that. So it's really interesting.
This must be
how-
something rare, though, the acts of service.
Yeah.
To show that as a love
for
language.
And maybe when they're older, but even some little kids, like my youngest too, she likes to help out. So if I'm, I can tell her, come help me with this, and she has no problem. But then if I tell the middle one, she's like, I'm busy, I'm doing homework. I'm like, all the excuses come out. So it really just kind of depends. But it's so interesting how we can all live in the same home, and our children can be raised together and yet have very different preferences for
You
love
know
language.
what? This is a very important point, because I was just having this discussion with my husband yesterday and telling him about this episode and the topic, and he's familiar with the love languages, but he told me for children, well, I think it just depends on how you raise them. I said, no, this is something that's personality
Yeah.
driven.
Yeah.
This is how the person is. You
Yeah.
cannot change. You cannot raise someone to have a specific love language. I don't think it works that way. So what you're saying is the perfect example.
Yeah.
They're brothers and sisters. They're raised in the same house.
Yeah.
But each one of them
Totally
is
different.
completely different.
Totally different.
And
yeah.
then it's hard for us because we have our own love language, and we tend to express in the way we want to receive it.
Yes.
And we have to remember, okay, for this child, I have to do it this way. I have to do acts of service. But this one, she wants me to buy her stuff all the time, so I have to, as an example.
Yeah,
and
that-
this
well,
one wants
it's
the
a real
physical
example,
touch.
yeah.
And usually the younger ones do like the physical touch more often, and then they kind of
As
phase
they
out
get
of
older.
that. So
Yeah,
that
I remember the
also-
very first time my son told me when I was dropping him off to school, he said, Mom, if you want to hug me, you hug me right now inside the car, not outside in front of everybody. And it broke my heart, but this was his way of growing up, and I understood it. Well, at the time I didn't really like it, but by time I appreciated that he actually communicated that with
I was
me.
going to say, he's mature
Yeah.
enough to know that you have that need and that desire, and he wanted to give you the opportunity to do it, just not in front of all of his friends. But that actually is a sign of maturity in him, that he recognized your need and desire and is not just thinking about that self-centered me.
Because that's important to teach your kids too. It's not always, like you said, a take. It has to be a give and take. Any relationship has to have a give and take. And kids are a lot more smarter than us. Like they realize that at a
intuitive.
very young age. And I remember for my daughter, if I'm upset from her, I won't talk for a little bit. And that really hurts her. For her to see that I'm upset, that for her is the actual punishment. It's not like the timeout.
You don't need the consequence.
Yeah. So it's nice that they feel our feelings as well. So and we have to, of course, appreciate their feelings.
So have you guys taken the quiz yourself?
I've taken the quiz.
Taking the quiz.
Did it surprise you though when you
Years
took the
ago.
quiz? It surprised
It
me.
surprised me a little
It
bit.
surprised me.
I think my number 1 didn't, but like my number 2 and 3 surprised me.
Yeah, me
No, I
too.
took the quiz years ago. I need to go back and take
Yeah.
it again.
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
it's actually an eye opener because the questions that they ask, oh, I didn't think about that. So that must be, that's why this is their love language.
Well, and us as moms, we don't feel appreciated a lot with our kids. And part of the reason why we don't feel appreciated may be because we're expressing our love in a way that they just don't appreciate because we're not doing it towards their love language.
And it can also be that because they're younger and not, fully mature yet, they might be expressing their love to us in their own love languages, which is not our love language.
Right.
So they do something for us,
and we don't appreciate
thinking
it.
this is gonna be very
Like,
nice.
mom's gonna be so proud of me.
Exactly.
I'm
But
happy.
for us, what are you doing? Like,
Right.
so
it
that
didn't phase us.
that could also be like, we have to be mindful
to
of that.
be
We have to
very
be careful.
Yeah, like
sensitive
there
of
were
that.
these YouTube videos of young kids, like making a like breakfast for their mom. It's a mess, of course. It's not something that she would eat at all. But I mean, it's their way of expressing that this is something that they would want to give to their mom.
And then also, we have to also be careful because if they try to express their love, especially growing up, like as elementary school age, if they try to express the love once and twice and 3 times in their own love language and we don't receive it that well, it might be a turn off for them.
Yeah, it can
So
deflate
they're
them.
not gonna try anymore because okay, they got a pushback or
Yeah.
we didn't take it how they wanted us to take it.
Yeah.
So it might be
But I think we should always encourage
a disappointment.
ourselves and other parents that we have to keep going. Like we have to, like even if we did a mistake on not understanding what our kids need or what they were trying to tell us, we have to put maybe extra effort at this time to try to get connected with them, to try to see what works for them and for us as well. But they take over the priority because that's their time to bond with us.
Yeah.
And the younger kids, like the elementary school age, they like when I asked my girls and I did the quiz for them, they loved it. They loved the attention. They loved answering the questions because they're fun questions to ask. Like, would you rather this or this? Would you rather this or this? Would you rather I give you a hug or take you out for ice cream?
Yeah.
Would you,
Yeah.
So let's talk about what are the different examples of the 5 love languages. So what is an example of words of affirmation?
Positive encouragement, telling them that they did a great job or they're looking nice or complimenting them on whatever they're doing or how they're looking.
And so I also want to mention, because I read this and heard about this in Positive Parenting Solutions, is that we don't, for instance, if they get an A, we don't praise we don't praise that they got an A. We praise the effort that they did to receive the A. So we say, good job. I know you worked really hard and it came through and so it's important because as I never knew that. And so whenever my kids would get an A, I'd be like, great job. But then what happens if they studied hard and got a B? Does that mean they don't
leave the A?
Right.
We
So
focus
we
on
have
the
to-
B.
Yeah.
As Egyptians, that's
Right.
what we do. And it's a big mistake,
Right.
and they tell you that. Like if you have like 5 subjects, all A's and one is a B, and we leave all of that.
I'm guilty of that.
I'm guilty of that too. And I think it's like Egyptian syndrome. Like we all go
My
through
daughter's
it.
over there looking at me.
Yeah. So it's definitely something that we need actively to work on. We have to make sure that we appreciate that effort.
Right. We praise the effort and not the end results. Exactly.
But I also have to kind of like look at it both ways. I think we'll get upset when they get a B because we know they can get an A. So, like if you like.
Well, that's why it's the effort. Like, did they get the B because they didn't work as hard? That's why it's all about the focus is on the effort. and how hard they worked at things and stuff like that. But right. Or they didn't have time to study. They had soccer, they had basketball, whatever it is. But also, it's important. So, other examples. So, words of affirmation. I love you.
I love
I'm
you.
proud
Yeah.
of you. I'm proud of how hard you worked. All of
Thank
these different
you.
things.
We have to thank them for a lot of the things that they
Positive
do.
words and encouragement. Acts of service. What is a example of that?
It's kind of hard for kids. I don't.
That's why for me, I feel it's a
maybe
very rare
taking
thing.
them places, giving them a ride, taking them to see their friend.
But that's
something
acts
like
of service from our end that we show them. But sometimes they take
Maybe
these
it's
for
something
granted,
like
though.
making their lunch or making their bed, helping them. If they're not that we're doing it for them, because that's something that they're supposed to do. But when we see them struggling, busy, studying for a test, making them a snack while they're studying, something like that we can do for them.
I can see that in more of older kids, because that's when they really appreciate. I mean, younger kids, you really do have to take them. You have to do lunch for that. Of course, we have to do all of that.
Like maybe if they have certain chores that they're responsible
exactly.
for,
That's what I was
doing it
gonna
with
say.
them.
Yeah.
And not doing it for them or instead of them, but with them.
Yeah,
so then you're actually combining quality time with acts of service.
Showing it.
So what are examples of quality time?
A lot. Like, spending time to play with them.
Yeah.
Sometimes just watching their favorite movie.
Shows together.
Or sometimes playing their favorite game. And that can take some effort from us, because, for example, my son, he likes to play hockey. I don't like the cold, even though I'm from Canada, I don't like it. So it's for me, like, just to go and watch his game and be there for him and encourage him. He sees that this is something that, extra, that I really don't enjoy it, but I like to do it just for him. Same thing for, my little one, he plays basketball. So I go and play outside with him, which I'm not, great at, but to show him that I'm doing something with him.
And that also kind of goes into physical touch as well. So when we're doing things together, like playing games together, but also hugging, snuggling, all of that, even rubbing their back, giving them a massage, holding hands, maybe going for a walk, holding hands.
Yeah.
All of these things.
So, but the key here, Nermeen, when we say this, that we really have to give them that choice for picking the activity that they want, right? So when we do quality time or spending time, whether it's a game or watching a movie, whatever activity it is, it's not us that we choose it. It has to be their choice. And we have to respect that.
Right.
But I think also it helps as they grow and they mature a little bit more. It helps to encourage them to think about something that would be mutually enjoyable for both of us.
Yeah.
Because it's not always about you. If we're going to spend, let's say, 2 hours together on a Saturday morning, well, it is my only day off too. So,
Yeah, and that comes with maturity,
I
like
think
you
as
said,
they
as they
grow,
grow older. And then
grow.
obviously receiving gifts. The thing about receiving gifts is it doesn't have to be expensive. It doesn't have to be designer brand name gifts or anything like that. It can be something silly like I got your favorite pack of gum, or your favorite bag of chips, or Takis. The kids are obsessed with Takis nowadays. So
they get excited, when you do grocery and you get the junk food that they like.
Yeah, just a little, a snack that they like, or a book that they wanted to read, or something small. It doesn't have to be something big, and it doesn't have to be all the time, obviously, but enough for them to appreciate it.
And Nermeen, as you're talking about the 5 languages of love, all I can think of that, our Lord Jesus Christ showed all of those 5 languages of love in the Bible through all of the miracles, through all of the stories that we know. You can definitely find it there. And it's amazing how our Bible is our reference in everything we do. Honestly, there's nothing that I can think of that I cannot find it there. And as you're talking, I'm just remembering some stories of how our Lord Jesus Christ showed compassion, showed the touch, showed the encouragement, showed the act of service, showed the words of affirmation. Like all of it is there. Quality time.
That's so beautiful.
It's all there.
And each person, he did it differently
for each one, and what they need. And it shows that he's always teaching us how we should live, how we should carry our life. And it's okay if we did it wrong. It's okay if we did a mistake. It's okay if we didn't figure it out. We're not born perfect. And we don't have manuals of how to do things.
Right.
However, we do have the Bible to go back and the prayer to lean on that help us through it every single day. Because
Yeah.
as parents, we'll make mistakes all the time.
And our kids know that,
Yeah.
and they appreciate
I
that
say it
because
all the
they
time.
don't. If we were perfect parents, then there would be so much pressure on them to be perfect.
Yeah.
So they appreciate that we don't do things perfectly,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
that we still try and we put the effort in.
And I think it's good that you just show that with the language of love.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you so much, ladies.
Thank you for having
This
us.
was a wonderful
topic.
discussion.
This was
Enjoyed
fun.
it. Yes.
Thank you.
Take care. Thank
We'll
you
see
so
you
much
next
for
time.
having us. See you next time.